so as you know, I'm Rose from Sanctus. I'll tell you a bit more about who we are and what we do in a second, but the main crux of what I'm going to be talking about tonight is actually my own mental health journey from student to where I am right now. So I'm a 24-year-old working professional, I guess you could call it, working in startup culture in Shoreditch. Hands up for Shoreditch. So before I get started, I just want to kind of get to know you guys just like a little bit better, because I think that's massively important. So first off, put up your hand if you're a graduate. Okay, cool. And then put your hands up if you're still studying. Okay, awesome. And then hands up who has no idea what they're doing. Yeah, me too. Don't worry, it's totally chill. I don't know what I'm doing either. Okay, cool. So that's part one. Thank you for getting to know me. Thank you for getting to know you. So now I'm going to get you guys to close your eyes very, very quickly. So yeah, don't be shy, guys. It's okay. No one's going to judge you for closing your eyes. So what I'm going to get you to do right now is just like a quick little exercise, which I kind of call like the reality of things. So I want you to raise your hand, and don't worry, no one's looking at you, if you have ever felt stressed, anxious, or depressed in your life. And I also want you to put your hand up if you've ever known someone in your life who suffered from mental health or a mental illness. Okay, you can put your hands down now. So without pointing people out, you can open your eyes now. Sorry, yeah, you can open your eyes. So that was pretty much most of the room. I'd say that's actually all of the room. So at Sanctus, one of the things that we feel super passionate about is, you hear about the 1 in 4 experience mental health. Well, we talk about the 4 in 4. You have a brain, you have a body, so therefore you have mental health and you have physical health. And we are all about breaking the stigma. We're all about education, and we're all about making the whole conversation on mental health a bit more inclusive and less kind of daunting. So, so now that you've kind of got to know, I've got to know you a little bit more, you're going to get to know me and kind of like my own mental health journey, because I don't know from the graduates here, but actually university is such a massive culture shock. Your whole entire support system gets ripped from under you, and you have to basically like fend for yourselves and also decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, which is really fucking hard. So we're going to start in 2016. So I've just become a fresher at Norwich University of the Arts, which is a tiny, tiny little arts college, where I decided I was going to become a graphic designer. I was going to follow my parents' footsteps, and I was going to become one of the coolest big shots in like agency life that you've ever seen. As you can probably guess, I didn't actually end up becoming a designer, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So obviously, uni consists of a lot of drinking. That's me in my first year. It consists of a lot of drinking. It also includes a lot of acclimatization. So you kind of, you bold into this whole new life, and you go, hey, cool, this is me. Who are you? What do you like? Oh, God, I've got to study now. And, oh, God, what am I doing with my life? And all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, I've got to get these grades, and now I've got to make a portfolio, or I've got to do these exams. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. And then you get to the end of it. But anyway, so for me, my own personal experience was I was doing a lot of partying. And I was doing a lot more partying as well. But even though I was doing a lot of partying, I was also getting really, really stuck into everything that I could at university. So I was doing side projects. I was trying super, super hard at all the work that I could do when it came to the actual work that my university gave me. I would, if somebody outside of the university said, hey, do you want to do some spare work? I would like jump on top of it. I also decided that I was going to become the university student magazine editor. I just kept on taking all these things because I was thinking to myself, well, what's going to make me hireable? What's actually going to get me a job? And I was like, cool, that sounds great. I'm going to do it. So kind of before university as well, I used to suffer with bulimia. And I also experienced bullying, self-harm, panic attacks, all these different things. So that was me at the beginning. And then I brought all that to university, put on top of the whole going to work hard, need to do really, really well. And oh my God, where are all my friends that I've known for the past couple of years? Oh, they're not around me. Oh, here are my new friends. So surely, university is going to be a fresh start for me, I thought to myself. Surely, this is going to be a new beginning. I can be a new person now. But the actual matter of the fact was that that was not the case. And I don't know if you've ever read any of the headlines, but student depression and suicide are on the rise, which is really, really sad and unfortunate. But universities are now making great, great strides to actually identify what does someone at risk look like and what kind of support can they offer. However, in 2016, this kind of wasn't the case for me. So, oh no, it's absolutely fine. Anyway, so what you will see in a second is basically some project work that I used to do. But what started to happen is I was throwing myself into all this work, and I was also dealing with what I didn't know at the time was actually high-functioning depression. Hands up, who knows what that means? Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows what that means. So basically, I was showing symptoms of like what a high-functioning depressive would look like, which, if you think about depression, it's usually like the grey cloud. You're really sad. You can't get out of bed. You can't shower. With a high-functioning depressive, you can get out of bed and you can do all this work. And if anything, you do so much that you exhaust yourself and you burn out. So yeah, that's me. That's some of the project work I did. That was me being a student magazine editor in my second year. And the thing is, like, I'm not telling you stuff to show off. I'm telling you because like this is what caused me to have a burnout at the age of like 19. So it's a bit fun. So anyway, so I started to kind of show what the signs of depression were, and I broke down crying one day, and I couldn't stop crying, and I hadn't been talking to anyone for weeks. So if you just read, I don't know how I feel. I haven't spoken to anyone in weeks, and I can't stop crying. What is wrong with me? So those are the exact words that I said to a woman on the front desk at my student university office. She didn't know what the hell to do. Bless her. So I was crying and crying and crying, and then after a couple of weeks of me going back to her and going like, please, like, I'm really, really desperate, I just don't know what's going on with me. She said, okay, actually, no, there is someone that you can talk to. It turns out my university did actually have the resources for me to go see a counsellor, but they were actually quite reluctant to point me in the right direction because it cost them quite a bit of money. And so I ended up actually seeing a counsellor for about 6 weeks. And this is when things started to change. So I got 6 sessions with this counsellor, and you know, you unpack all the things that you were feeling, or I unpacked all the things that I was feeling, and I got to build a really authentic, you share an authentic, non-judgmental space where you can really talk about what's going on for you. And that was massively transformative for me, and that's when I found out that I was high-functioning depressive, and that's exactly what was causing me to become mute and depressed and burning out. So she helped me identify what was going on for me, but the thing is, even though I identified what was going on for me, I still felt like this. I still felt really dead inside, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't know how to talk to my peers about it, and I definitely did not know how to talk to my course leaders about it. So I was kind of just up by myself going, okay, cool, well, what next? Anyway, so what happened next is my counsellor gave me some very, very basic tips after our 6 sessions, and then I could take those tips in how to maintain good mental health for the duration of my 3rd year. And this is me finishing and handing in my work, and this is a side project that I did for some freelance bits. But all those skills that she gave me and that space that she gave me made it so I did actually finish university. There was a really, really good chance that I actually wouldn't have without her support and without the university actually offering that extra support to me. So in 2018 I graduated. 2016, 17, 18, yes. In 2000 I actually graduated, and I was full of all this excitement, and I was like, cool, okay, I've got over this massive hurdle the past 3 years, and my mental health is feeling fantastic. And I've got these friends, and I've got these career prospects. I can't wait for the next chapter, right? Get that bit? Really full of excitement. So actually, the reality was that the next 6 months I actually spent at my parents', which is actually kind of a blessing, because I know some people wait years and years and years to get an internship. I waited 6 months, and my mental health went from here all the way down to here. But the thing is, you wouldn't have known that from social media, because I made sure that everybody knew on social media that I was enjoying myself, and I was still creative, and that I still had some promise. That girl sitting looking over the patio, she actually cried a lot. She cried a huge amount, but she wouldn't let you know that, and she definitely would not let the people that she was applying for an internship know that. So, I was crying a lot. My mental health was really, really crap. I went back to a local counsellor, and I started to pull back in the things I had learned about how to maintain good mental health, or at least like what would work for me. So I thought I'd share with you some things that I've learned over the past about what helped me personally maintain good mental health, or what are kind of like the basic things that somebody, if you are graduated or you're expecting maybe like a lull in your career, or you're just in a waiting period, or you're about to jump from university life into professional working life, which is a huge, huge change. And it's good to actually be aware of things might happen to your brain. You might start to feel a little bit weird inside or different, and to know that that's okay. But this is basically what worked for me. So, mental health care when looking for a job. I mean, I use this title because obviously you guys might be looking for a job, but if you're not looking for a job, these are just basic things that you can do for yourself. Just know that it may take time. You know, give yourself some space. Give yourself space to enjoy the small things. I didn't give myself that space at all, and I kind of wish that I had. It's really, really amazing that you get to choose what the next part of your life is going to look like. I wish I had kind of done that for myself. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't do what I did and kind of splash around on social media and be like, oh, my life's fantastic. If you do want to do that and your life is fantastic, oh my God, go ahead and do it. Like, slay it. It's going to be great. Know that your path may look different from the others. You've said before, like, you know, your life is going to zigzag. Your career is going to change. I wanted to be a designer. Before I wanted to be a designer, I thought I was going to make films. And before that, I thought I was going to go to Oxford and be a scholar. Like, obviously didn't happen. And another thing is just like exercise, meditation, all these things are like super, super basic. And also know who your good friends are. Know who are the 5 people that you can count on your hand who you could go to in any situation. They would go, cool, yeah, I'll drop this. What's going on for you? So Sanctus, what exactly does Sanctus do? So right now we work with businesses and small to medium-sized companies, and we work with them by offering them Sanctus coaches. So these are trained coaches, therapists and counsellors who can hold a non-judgmental, safe space for you for 45 minutes to talk about your mental health. So the companies that we work with, all the employees that work there, they get access for free to our coaches. And that's maybe over like a session weekly, monthly, twice a month, twice a week, whatever that company can financially provide. One thing that we also do is we make sure that companies are inclusive when it comes to talking about mental health. It's a super, super massively like scary subject, and a lot of people don't know how to talk about mental health. So, you know, we get our coaches together and we get our expertise and we say, hey, it's okay. Like, here's how you talk about mental health. Here's how you implement support, and here's how you make it so your whole entire company can talk about mental health. And so from the get-go, you as a new employee can walk in the front door and know that your mental health is going to be taken care of, and you get to go to work and be your full self. So these are the HQ team. So they are a mixture of people who, like myself, took massive career changes. They're also therapists, they're coaches, they're people who work in facilitation, people who work in crisis centres, all people who come from all different backgrounds who just want to help kind of move the conversation of mental health at work a little bit more forward. Here are some of the companies that we work with, and I think it's really good to, if you are looking for a job or you're curious about changing jobs, here are some of the companies that, you know, put their money where their mouth is. They hire us, they use our service, and they really do care about mental health. We don't work with companies who see mental health as a checklist. These people, they really do care. And also you can see from the news headlines that mental health at work is becoming a bit more of a thing that people actually really, really recognise is, you know, needs to be talked about. People need to sort their shit out. It needs to become a bit more of an open conversation. And also, you spend 80% of your life at work. 80%. And then you're working 9 till 5, sometimes longer. It's a huge amount of your time. Of course, your workplace should be inclusive to make sure that your mental health is being taken care of. So, how can you take care of your mental health? So, what I would suggest, or what does Sanctus suggest in terms of what are the basic things that you can start doing right now to take care of your mental health? Now, if you have a therapist, a coach, or a counsellor, that's absolutely amazing, and congrats to you. You made it to the finish line. But for those of you who aren't quite there yet and aren't quite ready, 100%, get a journal, get a quick little notebook, put it by your bed, carry it around with you, and just jot down thoughts, feelings, whatever's going on in your brain right now. How did you feel? Who were the people that you met? It's really, really crucial to your mental health to keep a record and also to have a space, and not judgmental space because paper's not going to judge you. Meditate. I know this is quite a ubiquitous thing and people say it all the time. Honestly, meditation scientifically is proven to help your brain process information a lot more calmly. It helps anxiety, it helps depression, and it helps negative thought patterns. Healthy diet. You are what you eat. If you are eating unhealthy food, that does translate into your mental health. I'm not just saying this from my own experience. This is science and research and something that Sanctus feels very passionate about. Regular sleep patterns. Are you going to bed and are you getting 8 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep? If you're getting less than 5 hours sleep, you're actually more likely to develop a long-term mental illness, which is scary. And to know that you can ask for help. There are some really, really amazing websites like the British Association of Counsellors and Practitioners. You can also, if you just Google, how can I find a therapist, how can I find a counsellor, loads and loads of results will come up. Just know that you can ask for help and that if it is financially available to you, or maybe your health insurance, or maybe your employer can pay for it, it is there and it is out there for you. And there are some really, really amazing shelters and services that offer low-income counselling and therapy. And then the final thing I would kind of say is the Sanctus Directory, which is a bit of a plug, not going to lie. So the Sanctus Directory is basically something that I collated on behalf of Sanctus, which is resources, practitioners, shelters, low-income counsellors, crisis lines, places that you can go to if you're in a crisis, resources on how to support somebody else's mental health. So if you just give us a Google, or you find us at Sanctus on social media, Sanctus, the Sanctus Directory, 19 pages of just full-on mental health news, support, and knowledge. So those are the kind of things that I would leave you with today. But the last thing I'm going to get you to do... what to look for in an employer. If you're looking for an employer who supports your mental health, what are actually the main fundamental things that you need to look out for? So, is mental health included in their health insurance? That's a massive thing that a lot of employers actually seem to not look out for. So check that out. Is mental health leave... what is their mental health leave like? So do they actually offer it? Do they have sick leave? Do they have mental health leave? Do they have an EAP, which is an employee assistance program, which is basically if you're in a crisis, you can phone up a counsellor and it's free through your employer. Is mental health openly talked about? So imagine if you went to go get a cup of tea and you turn to someone in the tea room and they start talking about their mental health. How's everyone else in the company reacting to that? Do they get cold and do they get a bit scared, or are they quite open and willing to go, hey, yeah, no, let's talk about it, it's completely normal. I feel shit today too. And then the final one is, do they make you feel like you can bring your full self to work? If you're in an interview and you feel there's a bit of falseness going on, the likelihood is that falseness is going to translate into your daily working. And I'm not saying if that is the case, don't go work for those places. But ask yourself some really hard questions. Is this somewhere where you want to work and you feel like it's actually going to treat you like a full human being? Or are they just going to use and abuse your time and energy? Okay, so before I go, I was actually going to lead you in a quick kind of meditation, but I actually think I've kind of gone over time a little bit.
You haven't.
I haven't gone over? I mean, obviously, if you guys don't want to do this, you don't 100% have to. But as a kind of quick little thing that you can do for your mental health, this is a really, really great exercise for if you're feeling stressed. If you're starting to feel a bit weird here, and you're feeling a bit tight here, and your brain's feeling really confused. So once again, I invite you to close your eyes and find a comfortable position. You don't have to cross your legs, you don't have to take your shoes off, and you don't have to look like a Zen Buddhist monk. Just literally just sit on a chair, get your feet on the floor, a good, really strong, sturdy connection to the floor, and put your hands wherever is comfortable. You can cross your arms, you can put them in your pockets, you can hang them on your lap, literally wherever feels comfortable. But now, I would like you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Okay. So what I'm going to lead you in is called a quick body scan. So it takes only 60 seconds. But you start from the top of your head, and what I want you to do is feel everything that you can and travel all the way through your body, all the way down to your toes. But take as long as you need to. You can take longer than 60 seconds. Some people do this exercise for 2 hours. But explore every single part of your body and get curious about it. How does your throat feel? How does your diaphragm feel? Maybe you're a bit tense in the shoulders. Maybe you've got this pain in your head and it just won't go away. but just travel all the way down to your toes. And when you feel like you've scanned through your body and you feel like you've really connected or checked in, then you're welcome to open your eyes. Cool, I think that's everyone. Cool. I've been Rose from Sanctus. Thank you so, so much for partaking and listening to me. Thank you.
How amazing was that? I feel so relaxed after doing that. I think everything you said really resonated with me. I suffer from anxiety and I'm not scared to say it. I'm freelance, so my life is a bit mental. No day is the same. So I think it's so important that we're having these open conversations because mental health is a killer and it's a real thing. So once again, give it up for Rose. Okay, so as I say, we're all friends here tonight, guys. Don't be shy. I'm going to come round if anyone has any questions for Rose.
Sure. I'm totally happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, is everyone up for that?
So if I freaked you out with my hippy dippiness.
Okay, who's got a question? Anyone?
Yeah,
yes, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. My name's Osman, I'm a graduate.
Hi.
I want to ask, in terms of dealing with stress, like actual symptoms of like stress, like blood pressure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how is it best to kind of like go about it, and how do you really have that conversation with employees? Because in the past, that's not gone down well for me at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So just if you didn't get to hear that question, it was, so what do you do when you're actually like feeling the actual physical effects of stress, and how do you have that conversation with employers? That's absolutely a great question. That's actually one of the biggest things that we find at Sanctus is employers and employees are just like, I don't know how to talk about this. To answer your first question, when you're feeling the actual physiological effects of stress, so you know whether it's in your head, it's a body, or you're clenching your teeth, or you're biting your, the sides of your mouth, I would just first of all recognize it and get curious about it. And I know I've said that quite a lot, but just maybe that's when a journal becomes really handy. What are the particular triggers that make you get anxious? And if it's a constant anxiety, you can go to your GP about that. I'm not saying like go straight to medication. But, meditation, just checking in with your body is massively, massively helpful. And when you're feeling anxious, connect with your breath. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and then breathe out for 6. And just repeat that and repeat that and repeat that until you feel a bit less overwhelmed. And then with the conversation with your employer, I think what would actually be my best advice that I could give? Having a conversation with your employer about mental health when mental health has never been talked about in your workplace is really, really difficult, and I get it's overwhelming. I think just be honest. Be 100% as honest as possible. And maybe if it feels more comfortable to you, maybe write down exactly what you want to say to them. What have you been feeling? Is it at work? Are you feeling most stressed at work? Is it because of this particular project that's just been dumped on you? Is it because when you come into work, all of a sudden you get really, really anxious? Or maybe it's actually the way that your boss or your manager talks to you. I've worked in jobs before. The way my manager used to talk to me used to make me go like, oh God. And I would like keel over and have panic attacks. So yeah, maybe prepare what you'd like to say and just have a frank, honest discussion. And maybe start it with, I notice I've been feeling X, Y, and Z, especially when X, Y, and Z happens. And maybe point it out if it happens at work. And depending on what their reaction is, if they send you on sick leave, that's absolutely fine. There are actually resources out there on the internet that you can find to say what are the legal requirements of an employer in terms of what they can actually do for you if you are showing signs of mental health. So prepare yourself, be honest, check out what their reaction is, and then usually the employer will follow suit from there. But those are my main tips. I don't know if that helps.
Definitely, I thought that was an amazing answer. Guys, anyone else? Don't be shy. I know it's a bit of a sensitive show.
Can they fire you?
Can they fire you? No, they definitely cannot fire you, but what they might do, and which is really, really sad to say this, is they might send you on long-term sick leave, which is their way of prolonging you coming back into the workplace. And the thing is, like, that's not done out of nastiness, it's done out of fear. Because if you come to an employer and you say, I'm feeling suicidal, they're going to panic because you're a potential legal threat to them. And if they're a bad employer, they'll do that. They'll send you on long-term sick leave and maybe keep you at arm's length. But a good employer will welcome you, they'll support you, and maybe point you in the right direction where you can get help and support.
Do you know many good employers here?
Yes, I do. Some of the companies that I had up on my slides, off the top of my head, I know a lot of startups, especially in like Silicon Roundabout. We work quite closely with a couple of tech companies that are really, really inclusive when it comes to talking about mental health. But also, no one's perfect. This is a really, really new topic, especially for employers. So I'm not saying every single employer is going to get it right. There are some bad employers out there. There are some employers with really good intentions. And then there are some people who are absolutely killing it and slaying it. So killing and slaying in a good way.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, how do you cope with... Oh, sorry, just made me feel...
Oh, right, no worries, you can do it without the mic.
Yeah, sure, project.
How do you cope with any like physical tension within your body? For example, if you're stiffness on your neck, once it affects your breathing, it automatically leads to stress. So how do you cope with it personally?
How do I cope with it personally?
And if
When
you
I'm-
ever been physically like, if you ever felt tense around your neck or some vital parts of the body that affects your breathing, that
Yeah.
leads to stress.
Yeah, I definitely. So whenever I've had panic attacks, it usually starts here, and then it travels through the rest of my body. Yeah, just it's around here. So what do I actually do? So I usually actually this is why I say I realise that if I'm not standing on the floor, I make sure I'm standing on the floor, and I remember that the floor is always going to have me. That for me personally really works. No matter how hard this is feeling, I know the floor is always going to have me. And also to know that I'm not alone really, really helps. And just try and connect with your breathing. And if it helps connect with your breathing, this is why I always hold my stomach, is because that's where I breathe from, and then breathing into your lower belly. The lower your breath actually goes into your stomach, the more calming it's going to feel. But then obviously if a panic attack or feelings of anxiety go over a prolonged period and it's stopping you from being able to function on a daily basis, that's when I would say maybe seek professional help, whether it's from a GP or a therapist or a counsellor. But that's how I personally deal with it.
Right, amazing. I think we've got time for a couple more. Anyone else wants to ask anything? No?
Don't be
Last
shy.
chance?
Yeah, we got a little one over here.
Yeah, oh, amazing.
Oh,
right,
hi.
you go for
Very
it. You
nice.
sure? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Are there any kind of like podcasts or YouTube videos or anything that would help with breathing exercises or whatever it is?
Yeah, oh my gosh, there are so many. Do you know what? Well-being bloggers and YouTubers are like a dime a dozen these days. Okay, so ones that work for me personally, obviously, the Sanctus podcast. We actually have our own podcast, which is an intimate one-to-one conversation where we just delve into somebody's mental health journey. That's really, really important. There's also the Mental Health Comedy podcast, which is, I know some people are really, really iffy about the idea of laughing through mental health, but they basically talk to comedians about how they've dealt with their mental health, and it's always through comedy. The BBC has a really, really good, it's called The Psychiatrist Chair. So if you want to go into the psychiatry side of things, that's really, really interesting. One's on the top of my head. Griefcast. Griefcast is a really, really good one. And then When Life Gives You Melons with Maya Jama. Yeah, so I was listening to that podcast, and actually they do kind of touch on mental health or well-being, and I think from a woman's perspective, a working woman's perspective, that's really handy. Yoga with Adrienne, she's a YouTuber, she does yoga, and she does it really basic and really, really friendly, and yoga for me has been like really, really imperative to my mental health, because once again, it connects the body to the breath, and that's, for me, it's just been tick, tick, tick. So that's what I would recommend.
Cool, amazing. Any final questions? Oh, yes, Roll, go
Yeah,
for it
yeah.
now, I love it.
Hi, thanks.
Hi.
What do you look out for in colleagues to understand whether or not they're struggling with their mental health?
Oh, that's such a good question. So that's spotting people who are at risk. So I'm really reluctant to answer that question because it's so different depending on the individual. But usually things around prolonged sick leave, quietness, changing character, maybe loss of appetite, disengagement in social situations, shyness as well. And I know these are all things that it's just like, well, that you've just described me as a person. Does that mean I'm suffering? No, it's just like these are the kind of things that you can tend to spot. But if you know this person super, super well, you'll probably be able to know it straight away. Sometimes you can just like feel it in your gut. But the NHS has a really, really good, so NHS Choices has a really, really good page on how to spot people who are at risk. And there is actually training that you can go to do to actually spot what at-risk people do look like. But yeah, if you are concerned about someone, Samaritans is really, really great. And Calm, which is the campaign against living miserably, has some really great information on that. So check those ones out.
Fantastic. We've got a question here as well.
So
Hey.
when you were going through like all of that at university, did you tell your parents? If you did, what were their reactions, and if you didn't, why?
No, I didn't tell my parents because I didn't think they would understand. And I kind of wish I had, because when I had my first breakdown, it would have really helped to have had them. I didn't tell them at university because I didn't want them to worry, but now I do talk to them very, very openly about my mental health, and it wasn't received very well, if I'm honest. I've told them that I have a therapist, and that was received with the question, "But you're not crazy." It's like, cheers, Mum. That's not it. So yeah, that's how it was received. But I have to like stand my ground and be like, I'm doing this because I want my mental health to be the best that it can be, so I can be happy. And if somebody else in my family isn't supportive, find some friends. You know, family might be a huge part of your life. Family is a huge part of my life, but they don't seem to want to support that part of my journey, and that's absolutely fine. I've got some really great friends who I can call up at any moment I can to talk to about my mental health. So my friends have become like my mental health family. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Amazing. No, that's perfect. Maybe just one more, I think. No, I'm getting told no. All right, okay.
Sorry, do you know the slides you just showed? Would you upload it online?
Yeah, okay, I can upload it online. Actually, if you, rose@sanctus.io, if you grab my email and then drop me an email, and if anyone can actually drop me an email as well, and just be like, hey, I'd like some of those slides. Then yeah, I'm super happy to send those to you. Cool, I think that's it. Thank you so much, guys.
Well done, guys. Give it up for Rose.